Everybody, so good to see everybody. Okay, so I kind of started talking before we filmed, so I gotta backtrack a little bit. So this week we worked as in most weeks with a lot of detail, but um, but let me show you how we did it because this is what's interesting is what I'm doing lately with classes is putting a lot of detail up front and then allowing a lot of free time on the back end for people to apply it. Okay. So they see what they need to work on, and then I give them the chance to go do it. And that's a really nice way of teaching. Because there's things that I want to teach, but then there's things that students want to learn. So you got to balance that off, right? Like it's always the way it works, right? So making sure that you put in the amount of free time in your training is important, right? The amount of play and just like wrestling with different things or punching with different things. And so, uh, and that is a hallmark of anything, guys. As you want to grow, don't train yourself to just necessarily work harder. Train yourself to be able to pick up and work with more details. That's all. Like a musician that can hear more sound and can see when something is off with timing and tone, and just like a chef that is able to do more with the food and flavors and textures, you're able to do more with your breathing, your movement, your strength, your relaxation, your flexibility. All these things come to you and come together into making you kind of starting to go down that road of mastery, right? Where you really start making it your own. Okay. So let me show you how I did it this week with class. You don't need a whole lot of room, but we will start from a very interesting place. And um, I'll get you to, before you do it, just watch me for a sec, right? Because it's challenging. So I'm going to lie down. Just watch me for a sec, guys. Don't do anything. I'm going to lie down. I'm just going to focus on mostly my head. So I'm going to be lying down, just breathing at the beginning. And what I want to do is slowly lift my head up, okay? Just my head. And what you're going to feel is tension come to your neck, okay? And then you're going to put it down. You're going to relax it a little bit. And you're going to try lift up your neck and kind of look down towards your toes, I guess, with as least amount of tension in your neck as you can. So you realize the more you did this, or even if you turn and look around and put your head down, relax your neck, and lift it up. And what you're trying to do is find the least amount of tension or the most efficient way or the most relaxed way of just rising your head, because the neck, especially in wrestling or any fighting arts, doesn't matter what it is, there's lots of tension that comes to the neck and it comes straight down the body. So people maybe are relaxed in the body, but because there's so much tension in the neck, it comes straight down the back, right? So we did this in class for the first 5 minutes, and it was very interesting because people really did feel the difference, that they could actually rise their neck with very little tension, but you had to kind of pay attention to it. Okay, so try that. Lie down. Yeah, kind of lie down. Just get comfortable. Find some breathing. Relax your neck, and then try to look down towards your toes and come back. And at first, I'm sure there's lots of tension, and then later, every time you do it, try to relax more or stretch the neck as compared to tensing up the neck. Just kind of look with your eyes, almost like you're sleeping, you just want to look down, but you don't want to tense up your neck at all, or at least too much. And you can look around too, like you can look down at your toes, then maybe look over to the left, to the right, um, and then always put your head back down just to relax those muscles, and then try to lift it again without too much tension. Okay, come around. How was it? Good. How does it act? Was it getting more relaxed as you go on?
With the exhale is better, right?
Yes, you could always work with your breathing, but could you feel how by trying to focus on relaxing it, just going through the minimum amount of effort, that you start to learn how to work with less as compared to more or subconscious, right? Did you feel that, Grant? Did you feel it at all? Good, good.
Yeah.
Miro, you as well? Miro, you as well? Okay. Remember, guys, for wrestling arts or for fighting, the neck is the real nemesis. It can hold so much tension, right? And studying how to lift it or turn it, we usually only know how to do this when we hurt it. And then we study how to lift our neck because it hurts so much, right? Now, I want you to have the image of peeling like a band-aid or peeling piece of tape off the ground. So now I'm going to rise up higher. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to lift my head and my shoulders, just the back of my shoulders. Okay. And then I'm going to lie down. And it's like I want to feel like my head comes first. I relax my neck, and then I also relax my just my shoulders. My upper back still on the ground, but there's a space there. And then I put my shoulders down. I put my head. So I study how to lift my head and my shoulders without going up, just forward. And again, with the least amount of effort, you come your head, and now you lift your shoulders up. Okay, try that. Head and then shoulders too. Good. Now your head, your shoulders, and kind of like your back, but just like a 45 degrees. And then place your back down. And again, it can curl up. Think of peeling a piece of tape off. So first your head, shoulders, and then your back. 45 degrees, and then put it back down. Of course, you're going to feel your stomach. I understand, guys. Your stomach's going to work, but try the least amount of effort. Try to do this like a non-martial artist. Try to do it like a very efficient person. That's the best way of looking at it. And now you kind of rise yourself right to the full body raise. Then you put yourself down again. Graham, I know this is going to be hard for you, but just watch, guys. One second, please. 1 second. So the trick, one, on the way up, there's usually too much effort, and on the way down, there's too much relaxation. You need to not try so hard to sit up, and you need to be more focused on how you put yourself down. It's like you lift your hands up too fast, and then you just flop your arm down. Usually you want to come up, relax, and then you want to go down with control. Right? So the coming down, the problem is we just kind of forget about it. We just let gravity do the work. Now I want you to really control how you go down and control how you go up. Try to keep the pressure the same, right? With lots of detail. Don't do it like a martial artist. Do it like an efficient person, right? Graham, you can just do the head thing and the shoulders. That's fine. Yeah, you don't. That's already a lot of work there. That's the biggest is the issue is in the neck for sure. Awesome. Good. Okay, come around. Okay. So there's many layers to that thing. You can focus on weight. You can focus on a piece of tape coming up, like peeling a piece of tape up. You can focus on not trying to look like a health expert, just like a normal person doing a body raise, like before somebody exercised, people worked on a farm, guys. It wasn't an exercise program. It was called survival. Right? It's like before there was fasting, it was starving, and before there was cold water dosing, there was freezing to death. It wasn't before it became a health practice. Okay, but when you bring this level of detail to just lifting yourself, okay, you understand that is going to use as a template to everything that you do. So that's what I'm trying to show you is that you're going slow and working with detail so that tomorrow when you're wrestling, you can start to work with those level of details. Okay, now we did it with the body, but you need to do it with your arm as well. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do it like I kind of like it like this. So put you crush it. Put your hands on your knees, right, and then rise your hands. Just your wrists. Sorry, just like your fingers, your hand, and try not to rise them without too much effort in the forearms. Like somebody plays a piano, right? You just rise your hands, and you can change the angle. Like it can be like any which way, right? But you let your hands hang, and then you lift them just a little bit. And again, don't drop them on the way down. Bring them down. Lift them up, with a little bit, just the minimum amount of effort, and then don't drop them, but bring them down. Let them go down. You're really trying not to let your forearms engage too much. You're just trying to see how much you can rise your hands and lower them with just, I guess, with thought. And then if you put your hands beside you now and you try to bend your elbow, right? And again, you always placing your hands down. You're never dropping them. So you just kind of have your hands beside you, right? So very slowly pick it up, not to engage the bicep too much or even the shoulder, and then place it down. And then you rise your arm up, keep the pressure. And then when it gets to this point, you're going to start to rise your hand up with paying attention to keep the shoulder very low, like you have a question. And then you're going to slowly, slowly let the arm come down again. Be attention to the shoulder. Don't activate it too much. And then pay attention to the bicep and put it down. So lots of control, slow movements, efficient, like the minimum amount of effort. You can even lift it sideways. Like it doesn't matter how you lift the arm up, but as long as you're really trying not to work with too much strength. Good. How does it feel, guys? How do the arms feel? They should feel, your arms should always feel very light. You should be able to bring them to your body with lots of focus here, guys. Lots of focus. I don't care what martial art you study, the shoulders should be really relaxed. It robs a lot of power and it holds a lot of fear. It scares us when they're really activated. So try to keep them as loose as you can, but under your control. How does the body feel? Do you feel a little bit calmer? You see how it starts to kind of feel calm, right? So believe me, I did, like I said, the warm up I'm showing you now, we did it and then we wrestled for a half hour and we sparred for another half hour. And I stayed as calm as I am now. Like really keep yourself calm. You study how to work, but feedback comes, okay? Now, so try to see this, okay? I'm gonna draw a triangle. At the very top, which is here, you have an executive part of your brain. So you have this, a beautiful mind that can think. Then on the bottom corner, okay, you have what's called an effector. So an effector is something that causes an effect. So a goal is an effector. So I want to punch somebody. So what do I punch somebody? So I want to affect somebody. Okay. Or I'm a musician. I want to make noise. Boom, and I make noise, right? There's a third. So there's a executive, there's a effector, and on the bottom corner, there's something called a comparator. And a comparator is something that we all have when we first start something. So when I'm first learning how to write, I need to compare the letter A that I made to the one that's on the board that the teacher made. The teacher made a letter, and I'm looking, I say, that doesn't look like an A. That looks like a spaghetti, and that looks like an A, right? Like, I realize, or when you first saw your, Miro, you're going to see this. Your kids are going to come to you with from art class, and they're going to have some piece of paper with spaghetti spray painted, and they're going to say, look how beautiful it is. If you compare that, anyway, that's how most students come to the teacher, right? They show you something they think is beautiful, but it's really ugly. But it's okay. But you compare it. But what happens is after a while, we get some skills and we stop comparing. And we need to make sure that you compare what you're doing to what it looks like. Whenever I see my work compared to, let's say, Michael, or let's say Vladimir or something, I see this not as good, right? I need to make sure that I'm comparing. My focus is not to beat my partner. My focus is to try and make the work beautiful or something that I wanted. That make something that I wanted. If you work at speed, it's hard to compare. It's just hard. It's hard to, because it's happening too fast, right? So the idea of slow work is not because it's safe, because I want to compare it. So if I'm a musician playing a song, I'm trying to play slow enough so I can compare it to what I want it to sound like. And then later I go fast, but I need to compare it. Okay. So what's missing from people's work that I see is that they're wrestling so hard that they're not able to compare what the teacher asked them and what they're doing. Right? How many times I've seen a class where Michael or Vlad or any great teacher taught said, do this. And then 5 minutes later, nobody in the class is doing what they asked because they got caught up in some other idea in their head. And and then they wonder why they're not improving. So with this much detail, you're able to compare. If I told you, as you're lifting your arms, I said, pay attention to your biceps, and you're going slow enough so you can compare that the biceps not working. When I said raise your hand, you're going slow enough so you can compare that, okay, the shoulder's not working. Good, 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 good. Like, you have to be able to compare what it is that you're trying to do. Otherwise, you're just going fast and there's no comparison. It's just simply going fast, right? Make sense? This is important, guys, because otherwise I don't want you to just say, well, go slow because it's easy and it's simple. Go slow, but compare. So if you go slow, there's got to be a lot of detail. Otherwise, don't go slow. Slow with no detail is garbage. That's the absolute worst, right? But slow with lots of detail is amazing, right? That's what you want. So don't ever forget that. Slow with lots of detail, not slow and lazy, okay? Let's try now with the legs. So we start on the ground, you lift your leg up. We're not going to go wrist, knee, thigh. You get the idea. You just try to lift your leg up as efficient as you can, and you can lift it up in different angles. So if I'm here, right, I try to lift up my leg, and of course it's relaxed, and then I'm trying to place it down really the way it came up. So it's like I'm slowly lift up my leg with the least amount of muscles in the hips, knee, and then on the way down, the same thing. I'm trying to relax that leg, and I can pick it up in different ways. I can pick it up from the side, and I can put it down to the other side, right? But again, the whole idea is I'm trying to keep the leg relaxed, right? So try it yourselves now a little bit. Just try to lift your leg. Yeah, and keep it relaxed, especially ankles and knees and hips. And don't flop it down. Place it down. Lift it up with relaxation, and then the same way you place it down. You could even involve the arms if you want a little bit, just to get a different feeling. Awesome. Now, come on up. Good, good. So, did you feel, you should feel much more now, when you, to lift my legs up wasn't as challenging as it was to control them on the way down? Could you feel that? Could you feel the difference of a descending movement, right? So it's, there's a reason, when they lift weights, you bring it up, but then you just drop it down. Like, it's really hard. If there was like Olympic lifting for weight that you control over and down, that would be a lot less. Okay, a lot less. It's much harder to control a movement in the descending, because it's a whole other series of muscles. Okay, there was a quite, I won't say famous, but I remember it. There was a track meet at a Toronto university, and it was 100-meter sprints, and they leave at least another 100 meters after the 100 meters, so that the athletes can slow down, like, because they're running so fast that when they get to 100 meters, they need like another 100 meters to slow down. Well, they didn't have enough room, and they only had about 50 meters, right? And in that race, almost, I think it was almost half, it was like 40% hurt themselves, because they had to now try to slow down in a shorter distance, and they're not used to that. They're used to just letting it go and then coasting. They're not used to having to kind of slow it down, right? It's really interesting, right? And that level of control is a whole other ball game. How many of you like to cycle, guys? Any of you like cycling? So you know what a fixed gear bike is? So a fixed gear bike is, you control the pedal. Most people pedal and then they coast, right? But a fixed gear, if you stop pedaling, they're still moving. The pedals are still moving. Well, they say, and it's been proven, that the cyclists that practice on a fixed gear bike are in more control of the pedals, because they never disconnect, right? So because you're controlling the down, you're going to become a much better martial artist, because you're learning how to control yourself on a descending movement. Okay, so even though it doesn't sound like a lot, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. And you can check just by putting 5 pounds. If you just put little 5 pound weights in your hand and try this, right, and watch, you're like, wow, that's hard. That's hard, right? Does that make sense, guys? So we did it with the body raise, we did it with the leg raise. Now let me show you with the push-up, because the push-up, in the class that I showed, the push-up was the most profound one people found. Okay. And I'll walk you through how you should do your push-ups from now on. It doesn't matter what it is, but how you should do it and how you need to prep your body before the push-up. Because people do bad push-ups because they already start from a bad place. That's the problem. Okay. So I'll walk you through how to do it now, and hopefully you practice it a little bit and you can see the benefits in the martial art. Okay. So unless any questions. Any questions? No? Makes sense, right? Just details. Okay. Lie down on your stomach. And what I want you to do is put your hands, your feet in where they need to be, and put the tip of your chin on the ground. Okay. So just lift your head, just your head up, and then put it down. And try not to tense up the neck. So lift your chin off the ground, just a little bit to prepare it for a push-up, and then put the chin back down. Try to relax your neck. So lift your head up, not tensing the neck, and put it down. Just the head. Now lift the head, relax the neck, and push up just a little bit, but your stomach is still on the ground. Go sideways, maybe you can see me better. And then back down. So again, your chin comes up, your shoulders come around, but your stomach is still on the ground. And then you come back. Now your chin comes up, your shoulders come up, your stomach comes up, but your hips stay on the ground. And back down. So like your belt stays on the ground. So first comes your head, your neck, slowly with relaxation. Shoulders, peel your chest, peel your stomach off the ground, but the belt is still on the ground. And down. Okay, good. Watch me from here. So now we're gonna start from the feet, right? So here are my feet, okay? They're flat, okay? Simply put your toes where they need to be for a push-up and try relax those ankles and knees. Again, put your foot down, relax your leg, put your toes under you, but don't tense up your knees. Keep your knees relaxed, your hips relaxed. And again, so when you prepare your feet for the push-up and you put them where they need to be, try not to tense the legs up too much. Usually people right away tense up their knees as soon as they do this, right? Kind of put your feet under you, get them ready, and relax them. Okay, watch me, guys. Watch me for a sec. I hope you can see this, right? But as I curl my toes underneath now, I'm gonna slowly straighten my legs and lift my knees off the ground, but not my thighs. So it's like I put my feet under me, my toes, and then I rise the back of my knees, but without tensing my knees too much. So it's like I'm here, curl my toes, lift my knees off the ground, but keep my thighs on the ground. Try that. Try that. Yeah. Put your toes under you without too much tension, and then very slightly like lift the back of your knee up, or just the knee off the ground, and then put it back down. Because this is the back side of the push-up. This is the bottom part. And people put so much tension in their calves and in their ankles and knees that of course the push-up will be tense. So place your toes nice, relax your ankles, and just simply lift your knees off the ground and put it back down. Great. Now, okay, you got it. Good. So now you put your toe, you're like this, you put your toes under, you straighten your knees, and you lift your hips off the ground. So the only thing that's touching now is my stomach. And then I put my thighs down, I put my knees down, I put my ankles down. So toes under, lift the knee, lift the hip up. Down with the hip, down with the knee, down with the ankles. Just keep doing that for a little bit. Remember, control the downward motion. Don't just drop to the ground. Control the movement. Okay, great. Now, put your hands beside you in a push-up, just like before, chin on the ground, okay? Put your toes under your ankles, lift your head slowly, and then slowly rise your whole body as the push-up on all points. And then with control, lower yourself. So as your chin lifts up, so does your toes. Knee, everything comes up equally, evenly from all parts. It's like you're being lifted from 4 cables coming up, not from just your shoulders. It's like the whole body comes up as one piece as compared to all broken apart. And then control the down. Yeah, don't just collapse, but control the descent. It's hard, eh, Graham? It's hard on the stomach.
Then, when you come down, your hips get first, or
So
your chest?
so this is again an interesting. So watch me as everything comes down exactly at the same time.
Exactly.
So when I lift my chin, my toes are under me. As I lift my shoulders, my knee comes, like everything comes up at once. I'll show you from a couple of different angles. Okay, I'll show you from this one, right? So everything is connected.
Okay. All right.
Just watch. So here I am, right? My feet are flat. I don't know if you can see that here. My feet are flat. Let me try to give you, there we go. So my feet are flat. As soon as my chin comes up, my toes go under. And as soon as I lift as one piece, and then down as one piece. As soon as my chin touches, it goes. Here. My main focus is that the same pressure to come up is the same pressure to come down. That the push-up from top to bottom feels exactly the same. It's actually a perfect push-up. Like I'm not just trying to do I'm trying to do a perfect one. That the pressure in my knees is the same as the pressure in my elbows. The pressure in my hips is the same that's in my shoulder. There's very little tension in the back of my spine. I'm trying not to jack it up, as they say, right? From the neck. I'm not trying to jack that posterior chain up. That makes sense, guys? Try a few. I have an unfair advantage because I've got the stripes and they help me. They always make my push-ups do better. I got the racing stripes, so when you got the racing stripes, you go fast, you know. Yeah, and of course, always incorporate your breath, but bring detail. Like, don't just push up. Scan your whole body as you do it up. Scan your whole body as you do it down. Make sure that you check out all those points, that the push-up feels like it's coming from the whole body, not from just the upper body and then the legs drag along. Mhm. Awesome, guys. Good. Come on. You got it. I can see it. It looks good. Um, so it's the first and most important thing that happens in a person is they first have to make the decision that it's time that they want something better. That's all. If you make the decision, like how many push-ups do you have to do before you say I'd like to make my push-up better, or do you just want to keep doing push-ups? You can just keep doing push-ups if you like. It's the same in martial arts. There comes a point where I don't just want to wrestle, or I don't just want to. I want to be efficient. I want to be able to um, pull information from this thing. Right? It's not just about, It's like the child that wants to get an A, but was happier with an A, and rather than a B that would have taught them more. Like I want to take simple things and learn from them. I don't just want to do push-ups. That's not my goal. There's nobody that's right on their epitaph. I wish I could do more push-ups. They always, say they lived with more detail, or they wanted, better things. And as you're doing this stuff, you just have to decide that you can do them better. And the same in martial arts, right? And you can do this in many different ways. You can give yourself the challenges, or you could just work with more detail, right? There's a famous story that people say, it's a kind of a religious one, but it has some great significance in my training. You often see people in martial arts, any martial art, always looking for more. So it's like they often refer martial arts as like a journey. So you'll often hear, oh, I'm on a big journey, right? And through martial arts or through whatever you're doing. And there's many stories in history that talk about this, right? And there's one where some young man went to his elder and said, listen, I don't know what's wrong. I feel lost. And he goes, well, it sounds to me like you need to go on a big journey, but I'm not quite sure. It just sounds like it. But there's this guy that lives in an old house over here. He's kind of a quiet guy, a recluse of sorts. Just he never leaves his house. Go see him. He is quite smart, and maybe he'll tell you about the journey. So the young boy runs over to see this recluse and knocks on the door, says, recluse, come on, I have to go on a big journey. I need to know where to go. And the recluse opens the door, looks at the young boy and says, you want to go on a big journey? Funny, me too. And so his journey was inside. This person thought he meant journey outside. You can journey inside yourself, or you can journey outside yourself. And I've spent a lot of time journeying outside myself, and I realized that there's a lot more inside. And if you doubt it, just look at the ocean. Just look at the ocean. Every time I go into the ocean, I'm amazed at the world that's under there. And I'm convinced it's more beautiful and more complex than the world above the water. It's so much richer in color and animals and species and hidden spots. The inside of us is like that ocean. It's the same thing. It's so much, right? And so we need to look inside ourselves when we're training. Now, when I watched students here training, they were absorbed too much with their partners because they didn't have the right comparator. When you're training, remember I said you have the executive, you have the effector. I want to put an arm bar on the guy, I want to punch him, I want to choke him. But what am I comparing it to? Right? What am I comparing it to? What do I want to achieve? And that comparator has got to be clear for you. And it always has to be working. Okay, that doesn't look like what my teachers are doing. You have to be able to see that, right? It doesn't sound like that. So when you train yourself the way I just did right now, with something as simple as rise your neck, put your feet under, relax the back, make sure that the push-up comes up on, and then control it on the way down. If you work on that enough, when you start training with people, you now have a template of what you want to do, of what it is that you want to do, what you want to accomplish. The goal is not taking a person down. The goal is being efficient, right? And what you do. The goal is, the highest level of martial arts is literally, I've seen it. I used to have a coach like this. When my coach used to say, Emmanuel, grab a seat, I never looked for a chair. I just sat down. That's power. Okay. When somebody tells you to sit down and you don't look for a chair, but you just sit straight down, right? That's real power, because they're listening to you. You didn't have to force them to do anything. They just did it, right? Because they believe in you, or they believe in what you're trying to say. When you conduct yourself in the right way, people already know you're the one that's in control, right? Believe it, guys, my wife gets a kick out of this, okay? Every time I go to a store and I walk around, people always come and ask me, they think I work there. I look like I know what I'm doing when I walk around. I don't. And I'll start, if I want to play this up, I'll start telling them, oh, you should try this, or you should try this. I pretend like I work there. I should get a commission off of this. You'd be surprised how much confidence that exude, and also how much calmness you have under pressure, which is a real gift, right? Real gift to be calm under pressure. So I'll leave you with that. This is what you got to practice, okay? Give it some time, work with lots of details as much as you can without, going crazy. And buy track jackets with stripes. They tend to make you look better and stronger and faster. And questions, ask me, guys. Any questions about this? The only thing missing is the training, meaning the half hour of wrestling and sparring. But you saw exactly what I showed everybody this week, and this was the level of detail I wanted them to be able to find when they train. And if not, just work towards it. That's all. Don't just wrestle. Don't just breathe. Don't just do push-ups. Higher expectation for yourself. Okay. Makes sense, guys? You're good. That's the message. Keep it simple, right? You can do this with walking. You can do this with swimming. You can do this with any activity you decide to do. Just bring this level of detail. Eating, same thing. Everything. Bring this level of detail, and you'll be in a good place. Okay. Have a good one, guys. So good seeing you. I'll see you next week. Okay.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.
Stay
guys.
safe.
Be well.
Well, thank you,
guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
man. Have a nice weekend.
You too, guys. Bye bye.